ladies and gentlemen. You are tuning into the 4th episode of Crimes and Closings. I'm Jenny Olsen-Hayden.
And I'm Dia Kappelman.
So we're having a lot of fun today. Miss Dia is going to tell us a story. I did get a reprieve because she decided at the last minute to not do the costumes, which would have required spandex,
crimped hair,
light
blue eyeshadow.
Thank God.
But we're putting that in the back pocket, so it's not this time. But I might pull it out.
It's a teaser, yeah.
Yes.
So just be prepared. So, what do you got for me today?
I have Iron Michael Malloy.
Okay.
He was born in Ireland in the early 1870s. They think around 1873.
Okay.
But it's not exact. By the 1920s, he had immigrated to New York City and become a firefighter. The Great Depression hit, things got tough. So by 1932, he was homeless, he was unemployed. He was also an alcoholic.
So the trifecta.
Yes. Yeah. Everything was going great in his life. He frequented 27-year-old Tony Marino's speakeasy in the Bronx.
Okay.
And that's where the story goes even more downhill than it already did.
So depression, firefighter, things were good up until that point.
Yes, yeah, it was. They were better.
And he's a man almost in his 60s. So if he was born in okay.
Yeah. So times was tough.
Yes.
And Tony Marino, the owner, was also experiencing a lot of financial strain. So he and 3 of his friends hatched an insurance fraud plan to kill one of Tony's patrons.
Okay.
By having them drink themselves to death.
Okay.
Since that would be an accidental death, the insurance would pay out and seemed super easy. Cool, let's do it. They had taken out policies that totaled just over $75,000 or $76,000 in today's money. So pretty good chunk.
Yeah.
They decided on Michael Malloy. And I don't know.
Things were going so well for him.
Yes. And that could have been it because he was, he really didn't have family to speak of. He had no job to speak of. He just showed up and drank.
Yeah.
So he was the lucky patron.
I can just see him. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by its tail.
Or he didn't tip.
Tip your servers, ladies and gentlemen.
You can end up poisoned. But I don't know why they decided on him also, since he's an Irishman. And the Irish are pretty renowned for holding their drinks, so they decided to They decided to have him be the one who was going to do it. But they went forward with it, decided it was him, and they started it by offering him unlimited credit. Because they figured unlimited credit, there you go. It should be easy done over quick. It wasn't.
I was going to say, we are still talking about it, so.
I've got a couple more pages. So he would literally come in, drink himself all day till he passed out, and then come in the next day and repeat.
Okay.
Because that wasn't going according to plan, they decided to speed things along. Tony Marino started adding antifreeze to his drinks.
Okay.
Should have killed him. But actually, ethanol, or the alcohol, blocks the absorption of ethylene glycol into your liver.
So they were basically just making him more ironclad.
Yes. Yeah, the alcohol was protecting him from the antifreeze, and alcohol is actually used as an antidote to antifreeze poisoning.
Alrighty then.
So if you ever think you've been poisoned by antifreeze, just drink.
Mental note.
Yes. It's also a really good excuse. It's fine. Keep them coming.
You have been offering me a lot of tea lately and things like that.
I mean, maybe you should get that apple whiskey going. So that wasn't working.
Okay.
They decided to try turpentine.
You know, and we're talking the 1930s, so we're probably not talking the purest of chemicals. I mean, I can't even imagine
any sort of way.
I can think about turpentine now. Can you imagine, before any of the laws and things?
Almost 100 years ago, yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
this
painful.
I shouldn't have said that.
I know.
So this is 1932's turpentine that they were poisoning his alcohol with. Zero effect.
Yep. And a speakeasy during Prohibition, so the alcohol could have already been turpentine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what now we can look back at it and say, there were probably some factors that played into that.
Yeah.
Such as
he was probably already drinking something worse than turpentine.
Yes. This might have been a break for him. His body might have been happy.
Give his liver a break.
Yes. Yeah. So that didn't work. They moved on to horse liniment, which is basically like Bengay for horses. Also had zero effect.
Which smells beautiful. I can just imagine the smell.
But have you smelled moonshine? It's not like,
true. Yeah.
One for the other.
Hold on, let me smell.
Do you like that drink? I got you. When those didn't work, they tried rat poison.
Natural jump.
Yes. 1932's rat poison. Also zero effect.
There was a huge rat problem in 1932 in New York. So that might explain something about the rat poison not working.
It maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot. It would be interesting now with our technology now to look back and see what was going on with his body.
Yeah.
They then mixed pure methanol, which is wood alcohol, which is alcohol that's distilled very crudely from wood.
I'm seeing this chemistry, rudimentary chemistry set in the kitchen and just quick, give me something.
They had to be sitting back in Tony's kitchen like, what do we do now? So they came up with this, and this is actually, it is lethal. It can kill you, and even small doses can cause issues like blindness. So not that the poison, the turpentine, the liniment couldn't, but this one should have. So they started mixing that with his normal alcohol. Zero effect. So then pretty soon they stopped just mixing it and they started giving him pure wood alcohol to drink. And it still had zero effect. He had no reaction to it. He had no other than the passing out drunk.
Okay.
So then when drinking didn't seem to work, they decided to move to food.
Okay.
So they started with raw oysters soaked in the wood alcohol. He liked those. It didn't work. They were, they then moved on to a sandwich. They put rotten sardines, more rat poison, and then either metal shavings or glass shavings, depending on the source.
At some point, you just kind of need to say, I'm failing at this. It's time to move on.
You would think. But maybe they had that, we're so far in at this point, we just got to keep going. Or maybe by then it was just let's see what else can
After this, picture that.
That looks good. Did you get some metal shavings? No, try those. But rumor is he asked for another sandwich.
Of course he did.
And he was washing it all down with...
Well, he had no taste buds at this point.
He couldn't have... And it's the Great Depression. I mean, you never know. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So, but he was washing all of this down with the pure wood alcohol, his glass shaving sandwich.
You could just see all of them just watching him, every bite.
You'd have to. You would think with a sandwich like that, you couldn't look away. It didn't work. So then they came up with a different plan to move on from food and drink. So one night this was early 1993 winter. So roughly January, February. 33?
You said 93.
Did I?
It's okay.
Well, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay. I just see a little old man. Yes. Much older.
But still really resilient.
Yeah.
No, this is 1933.
Okay.
Winter. He passed out drunk. They took him out to a local park, dumped him in the snow, opened up his shirt, poured 5 gallons of water on his chest. They basically made him a human popsicle, left him out there, negative 14 degrees outside. And they were very proud of finally getting the job done.
See back at the bar, giving each other high fives.
Yes. Yeah. They slept great that night.
Yeah.
The next morning, Mike Malloy walks in asking for a drink. So then at this point, the premium is coming due.
Yeah.
He is eating them out of house and home, drinking them out of house and home because they've given him unlimited credit to this man who can drink all day and drink anything.
Yes.
So they started trying to up the ante a little bit. They were getting desperate. They enlisted a cab driver named Hershey Green.
Oh, Lord.
To run Malloy over. So again, one night after he passed out drunk, the group carried him out to the middle of the road where Hershey Green was supposed to just
run him right over. So
But,
it's like, drunk drivers, unfortunately, that's one of the things that they're so drunk that they're just so loose and.
Yes.
Okay.
You would think that, but he came to.
Oh, God.
And was able to dodge the car. So Hershey Green tried again.
Of course he did.
And he was able to dodge the car. So Hershey Green tried again. This time he was successful, hit Mike Malloy at 45 miles an hour.
Oh, my gosh.
And then backed up over him.
It's like every horror movie ever.
Yes. Like the Phil Collins song. I can feel coming in the air tonight. Backs up over him. By this point, there was so much commotion. They scattered. They were sure he was dead.
Okay.
So they started calling morgues to find his body so they could get the insurance paid. Yep. Couldn't find him.
Of course not.
Kept trying. They were so desperate that while they were trying to find him and couldn't, they actually tried this on another homeless man, got him drunk, somehow missed him with the cab again. Hershey Green. Besides just being a bad person, was a really bad driver.
Apparently. Or a really good driver.
Because he couldn't hit pedestrians. I guess that is your job as a driver.
Yeah.
So, good, bad, flip a coin. So they couldn't get that guy either. So things are looking rough, especially when
God gives you signs.
This is like when you're like, God, give me a sign. He gives you a sign, and you're like, can you give me a signier sign?
Signier sign.
And then he gives you a signier sign, and you're like,
3 times. The cab didn't hit him. The third time finally hit him.
Yes.
Oh.
I figure at that point, God was like, I don't. I'm throwing my hand. I can't.
You can't fix stupid.
You can't. So 3 weeks later, after that, Malloy showed up to the speakeasy, heavily bandaged, just released from the hospital, no recollection of what had happened to him, and asking for another drink.
So by that point, his liver had probably regenerated enough that it was starting over.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Because you think about it, he's had to go through
like a detox.
Yeah. He's gone through detox at this point. And so now he's just starting all over again. So they were beyond desperate.
Can you just imagine their faces?
When he walks in, yes. Because they could not find him. There was no contact with him whatsoever. They were just sure he was dead.
I'm sensing like this could be like a Farley Brothers movie. I mean,
it does sound like that. Yes. It's a Saturday Night Live skit. They don't know when to end their skits. That is this guy's life. You're like, dude, just
lay down and die. just stay down.
Yes.
Stay down and walk away.
They had talked about, Tony had talked about just shooting him, but they couldn't do that because then they wouldn't get the insurance money. But they were that desperate of just kill him. So finally, on February 23rd, 1933, they carried a passed out drunk Malloy to a room, stuck a gas hose in his mouth, and turned the gas on.
That doesn't seem natural.
It wasn't. He did pass away from this. It did kill him, but it wasn't natural. So they had to enlist.
So eating and drinking didn't do it. Breathing did.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Eating, drinking, severe bodily damage from being hit at 45 miles an hour also. But that's back to what you were saying about his body was probably looser anyway.
Yeah.
So again, he was protected by the alcohol. Not that we're encouraging drunkenness, but it really seemed to work in his favor.
Yeah. What is that? God, what is that? Is that saying God protects drunks and children.
I don't know that. That's a horrible saying.
It is a horrible saying, but
What?
the children is good, but
Who would say that?
I don't know. Sounds like something my Irish family from Chicago would say.
I say that's horrible, but we're sitting here on
A murder
crime.
podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, it wasn't accidental death. So they had to enlist a coroner in on their scheme. He said the cause of death was pneumonia. They buried him.
The more people that you're paying, the less money you get.
Well, at this point, you're down all this alcohol, you're down all this food anyway. They might be paying Mike to kill him.
It's like a loss.
It is. It is. And so
Can they claim it on their taxes?
unsuccessful death? Is that a tax? We need some tax attorneys here. Any CPAs help us out with this? Yes.
Okay.
He was able to elect a small insurance policy,
Okay.
but Prudential had the bulk of it and asked to see the body, which then Marino had to explain that it had already been buried. Get that dude in the ground. We're still not sure he's dead. Get him in the ground.
Just every time, just opening the lid. Hold on, let me see. He's dead. Hold on again. Yep, he's dead.
Nail it shut.
Can you see him opening the file too and being like, liver is pickled,
Yes.
110 broken bones.
Everything is pickled at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, when he had to just they had to cut him open and alcohol just had to wash.
Oh, God.
So that's really dark.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry. So anyway, so Marino said it's already been buried, so I don't have the body. Prudential did not like that answer.
Wah, wah.
Yes. They alerted the authorities, who had already been hearing rumors for the past several months about Mike the Durable, Iron Mike.
I'm just picturing two police officers just watching the whole trying to hit him with a cab go down, going, okay.
Yeah. Apparently it was enough that people were talking about it. So then when this guy happens to die, the insurance company calls the police. The police have been hearing about something funky kind of going on. They put two and two together, exhumed the body, properly examined the body, realized that he had in fact been murdered. Oh my gosh. So then all 5 members of the group were arrested, and the doctor who signed the death certificate was held as an accessory after the fact, which I don't think is enough.
No.
But
I guess, yeah.
I guess it's something. So Hershey Green, who wasn't happy with his cut of the money.
Well, if you do a job right the first time, Hershey.
Fair work for fair wage,
Talking
Hershey.
about, 6 times? So 3, finally get him hit once. Then the second person that he tried to hit.
It didn't work. And so he was getting about $150, which I guess, it's fair if you're not doing your job right.
But how much would you make if you were actually spending that time driving your cab?
I don't.
I'm telling you.
But probably hitting someone goes a lot quicker.
You would think.
If you do the job properly. I don't know. We should do a cost analysis on that. So because Hershey Green wasn't happy, he started talking first.
Okay.
And so because he started talking and because he didn't actually...
Hershey, shut your mouth. You can't drive.
That's got to be a real insult to a cab driver.
I know.
He received a minimum of 10 years for his part in it. Because it started opening up, because he started talking, then they all started blaming each other for what had happened. They also tried insanity. Nobody bought any of that.
After your 28th time trying to murder somebody,
There's a pattern.
Yeah.
You've established a pattern in this.
Yeah.
So they all 4 were convicted of murder and sentenced to death.
So Hershey Green was not. So at this point,
not.
being bad at his job did probably help him.
It did.
Okay.
It did. And he wasn't one of the original. He wasn't getting the insurance money. He had no part in the poisoning and anything else. It was just
Really bad driving.
really bad driving.
Or really good, depending on how you look at it.
Yes. From a pedestrian standpoint, great driving. So Daniel Kreisberg, Francis Pasqua, and Tony Marino died in the electric chair on June 7th, 1934.
So it's quick.
Very next year, yes.
Yeah.
And Joseph Murphy died in the electric chair on July 5th, 1934.
So they didn't mess around with the 30 years on death row.
No, they went to trial, they were convicted. I have to imagine there's not a lot you have to wonder about it.
And you have to be sitting there going, they're thinking, he lived all those times we tried to kill him. Maybe I can get lucky. Maybe I'll get lucky. Oh,
didn't work.
No.
But Michael Malloy's murder case was one of the first to be investigated by the New York City Medical Examiner's Office.
New York City, I'm not as present day. I have no desire to go to New York City.
Really?
I don't know what it is, but I'm obsessed with the gangs of New York. That it'd be very interesting to see New York in that time period. Whenever I'm having a really bad day, this goes back to my whole I often tell people that I have an Irish temper and a Viking bloodlust. It goes back to one of my favorite movies is Gangs of New York, in the opening scene, which is a very, very graphic, very crazy scene. But I'd be interested to see. I mean, life was not good then. So,
and that's funny. You're talking about Gangs in New York. I'm like, Newsies. Disney musical. That's what I know. They just danced and sang.
That pretty much sums up her personality. Exactly. Darkest of dark, highest of high. Some days.
And that's the kind of interesting part about it is it wasn't a good time.
No.
New York wouldn't be great anyway, much less coming out of the Depression with everything going on. But that's the story of Michael Malloy, the man who would not die.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah,
But did he really? I mean, he had to live his best life that 6 months, drink all he wanted.
Yeah, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Probably had a lot of people that were having conversations with him because they just wanted to,
It might have been a good life. It might have been a good way to go out.
It might have been.
Yeah.
So more power to him.
Yes.
But I'm a big believer that, at some point you just need to cut your losses and move on. They obviously did not get that memo.
They had too much invested, too much capital. They couldn't stop.
No, that's exactly right. So last week we were talking about, now we're going to talk about the closings. So on to something fun. Not really, but the market still is crazy. Buyers are having a really hard time still getting under contract. Last week we talked about how to kind of get ahead in your, when you write your offers by using in its present condition addendum. This week we kind of thought we'd talk about another way, which was an appraisal waiver. So, let's say you write a contract for a house at $100,000 and the appraisal comes back at 95. You have two options at that point. You can either go back and renegotiate with the seller and see if they will drop the price to 95, or you can pay that $5,000 difference in cash. You're not going to be able to get a loan for that gap. So one of the things that people are doing right now is they're waiving that gap. They're saying, we'll go ahead and pay the $5,000 cash. Unfortunately, it's not all the time $5,000. I'm even hearing upwards of $60,000 in cash, and we're talking $250,000 to $300,000 properties.
Yeah, a big chunk of the property.
Yeah, and so a lot of times that immediately puts you upside down. So it can be done very well, especially there are people that need to move and have to move right now, or they find the house of their dreams, and it's worth paying that money in cash. But I think it's like what we talked about. It all has to go down to using your best judgment.
Well, it's kind of like the in its present condition. It's something that can be very good and can get you ahead, but it can also be a double-edged sword. It can come back on you in many ways. So you have to be very careful utilizing that tool because it definitely eats into your cash flow. It's an unexpected expense if you're already tight on that. And you have to be able to still qualify for a loan. Paying that appraisal gap while your loan is in process and the underwriter is looking at it. So
and it just all goes down to knowing what you're doing and having an agent that is truly advocating for you. That's the most important thing. We're not here as agents to make decisions for you. We're here to give you all of the facts and help advocate for you so that you can make the best decision. So
it's always your choice and your money. Our job is just to inform you of all the pros and cons of every situation. And right now in this market as a buyer, there are a lot of pros and cons that you need to be aware of, and different ways that you can. It's a great way to win an offer. If you love that house, if you've fallen in love with that house, like you said, if you have to move, then cool. There are a lot of options that we can do to help you get that house.
Right.
But
we want to make sure we are helping you make that right decision, because it's not the right decision for everybody.
Yes.
So we'll be back next week. I have
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Well, actually, it'll be 2 weeks. We didn't have a actually today, other than so that's good. So definitely reach out if you notice anything that we need to actually next week.
Or a case. To cover.
You can reach out to us. We now are official. We have crimesandclosings@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out and let us know what you would like to see or hear about. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I have a real estate kind of a case to solve, and not so well. It'll be cool if we could solve, but
so it'll be like crimes and closings.
And closings. So you guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in.
See you later.
Bye.